My name is Taylor and I'm going to be reading pages 221 through 230. And so the concept of this feeling, I'm going to neologize as quantum malurignestion, as it is like the allure of a quantum magnet pulling me to write these words of this very treatise and the attempt of sharing this information with the collective funk. I postulate humans as hierarchical entities, and even funk itself is our malurignetically linked to caravanial influence. We are prediction machines, after all, and we could be evolving this sense further and further, some to feel it and some not, but all to have it. May 25th, 2024. Malurignestion leads, pulls, guides, directs us in everything into synocracies and beyond. It brought us here through our moments and timelines of Caravania and you reading these words now and everything else that happens beyond. Wednesday, December 9th, 2019 continued. Sean Penalber. More questions and answers came to me in my sleep last night. For those of you still reading this far, I would like you now to consider the idea of secrets and the influence they share when both withheld from or shared with a trusting environment. Trusting being extremely important. If you cannot trust your environment or even yourself, then how or why should anything trust you? If a light switch is on or off, it is a secret to many as to why the switch is on, off, or in between, or gone. Unless somehow we know of or learn the secret that perhaps someone like you or I, or an event of actions turned it on, off, or was in the act of doing, or had taken it away, then we would never truly know why it is in the state that it is, was observed to be in, and what put it into the state, whether it be through creation or influence after existence. When you are on stage performing improv, it is important to tell your partners your secrets or intentions and characters you are acting as, or they will just assume who you are and what you are doing. You may have had an idea or been a certain character or thing, but unless your secrets were properly expressed, then they remain secret, and your reacting partner will then attempt to share their secrets based on their assumptions and knowledge of what they think you currently are doing and who you are and what your intentions could be. Even when not in an act, when you are interacting with an object in your everyday offstage environment, it is still that communication and performance of giving, gathering, and collecting information and attempting to create the subjective, objective, best storyline with whatever you're interacting with or event you are experiencing. June 12, 2022. You have to share the secrets you are experiencing or want to experience in order to experience the desired experience, as everything develops depending on the result you or they want. Same with relationships, whether social, sexual, or for pleasure, etc. When connecting with a partner, if we do not tell our partners what we like or how they can give us what we could want or need or not, and vice versa, they can only assume how to do so with only the information they understand from previous individual perspective and experience, and both of you will experience limited satisfaction until you or we can communicate properly and tell each other what we need at that moment in those moments of coexistence. In my study of patterns, I see that it is very difficult for us as humans to share secrets, especially depending on what they are, but we still do so subconsciously until we eventually share them consciously or purposefully or not. If the human mind, or even a quantum unit or formation of units of energy, could understand those secrets as easily as yourself thinking of them, then they would know you closer and why these secrets are there and who you are because of them. And that is an exposure of the self, and many are ashamed or afraid of who they are or what their secrets may be, depending on their perspectives of and reactions to, as well as the other outer social influences, reactions, and perspectives of. If you purchase a difficult puzzle, usually the secrets or solutions behind them comes inside the box, so that if you or someone else are unable to solve the puzzle, that solution is accessible, so you could figure out how it works in the future or present if you wanted or needed. But it is commonly in our nature to attempt the puzzle first before looking at the answer, and it is currently in our natures to perhaps feel a form of shame, submission, or failure when you finally look at that answer if you are unable to solve the puzzle. But in doing so and investigating what you could not learn, you have now successfully learned the answers and can pass that information along to the world. If it's a game and you are frustrated or afraid to seek help to learning the solutions or answers to unknown information, imagine how frustrated or afraid you're going to be when attempting to learn the answers or seek the solutions to yourself and everything. It is frightening or embarrassing thought at first, but I propose to each of you to be that person of trust and to share your secrets, or at least attempt to. As socially, we see more and more that when you do, we feel much better and can progress and expand from it faster and further, rather varying as positive or negative reactions. Almost unburdened, even if occasionally you're temporarily existing within your own feelings of burden, because now your secrets are a shared experience and your environment will have your back, or it won't. But as I postulate, you will find those that have your back, and you will be able to further process how to most progressively and proactively react to those who don't. In an observation of this study, those who don't eventually leave or become distant to the equation, or may even attempt to remove you from it because you and or they know they cannot have your back and are making a choice, consciously or not, to be untrusting. And that personal guilt or desire to take advantage of another, instinctually or not, could lead to, unfortunately, another being or object to see you as an opportunity to abuse. You have to be ready for it all, or the fear of the unknown will have the greater influence on your decisions, actions, and being. We can attempt to strengthen our experiences with these moments by experiencing these moments either once or again and again and again. In personal observation, yes and is much more healthy and productive than no but. Yes and leads to arguably more success within the games of life, visually and connectedly as an experience. No buts will seemingly always happen as we expand our knowledge towards how to better yes and that's why they are important in our journeys of growth and experience. No but is natural to find how to yes and. Much like in science, you must find and prove why things don't work to find and prove how they do work. The scientific method is no but until it is yes and, each followed by if this, then what. When you are a child, you think, why can I not do this thing? And when you attempt it, it helps or teaches you, or not, by influence of the event of doing or observing. Say your mother tells you not to touch the stove. It is in your no but nature to touch it and learn what happens by experience. Unless you have already been burned by something hot, or you know or see someone else who has, and you understand and know that your yes and is that if you touch hot, it will burn you, so you learn to not touch hot. Our lives are a trial and error of no but and yes and. So keep on no butting this information I'm attempting to explain to you and your entire experience of surrounding perspective until you can more understandably yes and it. And then I request you share that collection of no buts and yes ands in our collective if this then what. These are our secrets I am sharing with you. My secrets of life, existence, and the universe, and how we interact with all of it and what we've learned from it. Take those secrets and interpret them as you will, because this is how we learn and advance from that, sometimes greater learning. If I'm attempting to teach or translate to you these personal and group observations and collections of information and experience, and you are interpreting it and understanding it in your own way of learning and or moving on from some form of interpreted learning and limited influence. I feel it is important for me to share this information with you. It is in my belief and nature to be patient, kind, helpful, understanding, and loving while promoting and teaching others how to do these things as well, because I love you. And I wish you to see a future where we can love and trust each other as we love and trust ourselves, and have that love and trust be strong and understanding as the strongest chemical bond possible. I wholeheartedly can say that throughout this study, I've discovered what love really means, at least to me, and I can without a doubt say that if you are reading this, I love you. You are interconnectedly a part of me and us, and helped me and us reach these conclusions and reach these secrets that mean so much to me, and I need to share it because I now know how great of a feeling it is and the energy it shares around us. If you've read this far, does that all make more sense to you, or how can I further help you understand it? Please tell me your secrets and let's solve this puzzle of life and its meaning together. And if you choose to take advantage of this information or our relations, then that is your choice. I do not promote taking advantage of others, anything, and I hope you reconsider to work together towards our greatest potential universal understanding, and beyond. So even if you choose to harm me, while I may be reluctantly resenting, I will still choose forgive your misunderstanding and attempt to work towards harmony. But impactfully, your choice would greater affect this continuation of mistrust between not just ourselves, but also our surroundings. So please don't choose to hurt or harm others, yourself, or myself. I can't speak for you, but I will always be willing to work together. It is a selfish attempt to be the selfless reality I wish to be a part of. Love y'all, Heart. Wednesday, December 11th, 2019, continue. I am now by request sending this information to Colton Grusset. Hello, Colton, Heart. Wednesday, December 11th, 2019, continued. Again, posting information inviting others to discuss over open forum. Linked here. Autolycus Sinusura, December 12th, 2019, Thursday, 3:37:03. This is quite reminiscent of schizoanalysis. Schizoanalysis tracks the image as it organizes inner experience within the individual, isolated from the abstracted social symbolic forms of morality and truth. The best therapy has offered so far is to restore some form of acceptance of the social symbolic order as an alternative to isolated individual symptoms of madness or disease. But every symptom is an opportunity, desire knocking at the window, seeking to escape its rigid confinement. The imaginary world of the individual creates a speculative cartography of life, which frees itself from stagnation and abstraction, yet it longs to be realized materially through a concrete cartography of collective action. Artistic creation is the link between the speculative cartography of the imagery and the concrete cartography of collective action or communication. To speak, to write, to paint is to express the imaginary into the real, where it can form the symbolic truth of the moment in everyday life among a community of those who agree to share for that moment that truth. The community of lovers, the community of those who have nothing in common, does not resort to castration before the law, but preserves the sovereignty of each moment and the integrity of the story and time of each individual made up of such moments, each community made up of such individuals. The client who speaks in the therapeutic setting and the artist who creates for a community of listeners each invent their symbolic individuality collectively by making concrete or real the imaginary formation of their drive or unconscious. They produce their desire, they enjoy their symptom. September 17th, 2020. Consciously, I do not know myself to be experiencing or have ever experienced schizophrenia, but with further investigation, I can see how this observation and collection of data can be related or similar to schizoanalysis. And I, as to anything, welcome further outside input and analysis towards more information. Though whether afflicted or not, it is still a personal decision to move forward and continue to investigate and share these or those experiences and further information so that whether these things are true or not, applicable or not, this documentation can be used as an example of study towards whatever result in whatever field most relevant. May 20th, 2023. With further time and study, I now understand that they were not accusing me to be or have been schizophrenic, but were showcasing what schizoanalysis was. And I agree, all of this is quite reminiscent of reflective to schizoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is the analysis of the mind. Schizoanalysis is the study of how our environments and social society shape the mind. Linked here. The decisions you make and the actions that follow are a reflection of who you are. You cannot hide from yourself. Samurai Jack's father in season 5. Thursday, December 12th, 2019. Sean Penalver. Hey friends, here's my next crazy project proposal for you in my journey on life and the goals I strive to achieve. I was going to make the announcement early in the year, but I decided to hold back and discuss it with those around me and see what they thought and if I should pursue. I am proposing to you that by 2028 or later, I will either be running, attempting to run, not yet able to run, or unfortunately ever able to run for your President of the United States or some other type of leader. I currently meet all the requirements except being 35. I have 6 years. I understand making this claim is a big decision, and I'm willing to face the potential oppositions head on, but hopefully together. You have at this point seen the many things I have learned, created, achieved, or been a part of in the last 7 years. So imagine what we can do together in the next 9 until we reach that point. If you are still around at that time, I'm hereby requesting further assistance from each of you or none of you to help me reach this goal or not in whatever way you want to or cannot. You have already been a significant amount of help and influence to me so far. If I am not yet running, you can write me in if so you choose or not. If I am running, you can vote for me or not. And if I am dead, attempt to grow from my documentation of the earth, universe, and our existences within, without, and beyond the universe, and our connections to each other and all. I'm hoping it's at least somewhat helpful, and if so, please learn from it and help nurture these ideas and philosophies to grow and keep expanding together in the attempt of progressive application. Under the Party of the Funk, I, Sean Penalber, would like to serve as your 2028 or future President of the United States of America, and we can continue to work to explore and possibly unite the universe and each other, unless you personally don't want to or we find we are absolutely scientifically unable. But I propose we can and are able, and hopefully you are able to experience that ability as well or willing to choose to learn how to do so together. With enough time and experience and study, we know that forever some will and forever some won't. So won't you be my neighbor? You are now experiencing from this point in time the global reactions or lack of to this statement. Enjoy the ride, heart. Saturday, December 14th, 2019. June 12th, 2022. Concerning and considering no mission. Racism, sexism, tribalism, and further forms of hater identification bias could be viewed as a collection of established glitches, disconnections, or misinformation in evolution and in human behavioral patterns, and unawareness of outside connection, experience, and perspective, leading some to fear of their individual status or energy being overcome, becoming less in power of command, or targeted to be removed from their environment for their selective beliefs. If it were coding in a program or energy running through a circuit, outputs need to or either learn to work with the rest of the programming, or it results in an error or an incomplete render of an eventual future, more complete edit or version by advanced learning within the program itself, or if perhaps reprogrammed by some form of universal programmer or programming energy. If we attempt to remove data or reprogram it, the data itself, if conscious or able, will protest or perhaps even strengthen resistance with whatever energy, power, or ability within itself to continue outputting as it is righteous belief to conquer and achieve existence and reach their goals, whether selfish or selfless. Many of these beings, if not all, in their current state of perspective environmental programming issues, are unable to connect with the selfless unless they prove to do so through compatibility and connecting those circuits of energy rather than breaking or reconstructing that cable, so all output of inputted energy stops at itself. Or perhaps even the core energy running through the cable is somehow polluted, or like a virus, if eventually those circles connect, the now connected, possibly harmful energy flowing through the past disconnected environment could have destructive effects. So unfortunately, to even attempt to reach a unified greater connection of universal circuitry or programming, the software would have to allow itself to be affected by all of those viruses that could be behind restricted circuits. But once an event of bad connection happens, the resulting effects are observed and troubleshot until a solution is eventually reached or not. And as we should with each other in accountability, records are kept of data and programming so that programmers or the program itself can document, recall, or edit from the past history. So when you see the current or history of disconnected circuits and viruses, contact your electricians and doctors and each other for more information and suggestions of solutions. And then we save these or those records so it is useful in the future. June 12th, 2022. Reality continues as Q mission with the blending of no missions and we missions. March 20th, 2023. What some philosophers would describe as love, fear, and harmony. If you touch an electrically charged circuit of energy, you could get shocked or killed. Within our current awareness, energy doesn't have a choice in the resulting connection and the reactions to, but we, as conscious programs fueled by that energy, are more than able, and some are even willing to make those choices to use the energy for either good or bad, to cause a small shock or to murder with power. So when each choice happens, whether by electricity or person, document its happening in history of and learn from it. Educate yourself and your community and attempt to solve it together. Let issues be known, but also truthfully and factually. Lying about a bad circuit or being misinformed is then partially at your fault for not being able to appropriately diagnose and resolve the error, and the error will still continue to persist or get worse as to form more errors in trust and environment. If you're wrong or misinformed, humble yourself and admit fault and learn from our mistakes to attempt your progress within your or our consequence or lack of, and educate yourself or ourself further into fewer errors and more accountability, or choose to continue selfishly and disconnected becoming a branching disconnection evolving from the one you were attempting to connect in a series of events. June 12, 2022. In any event, everything will continue to move on. Locate the sources of disconnection and communicate, troubleshoot, and document these issues and progress of all possible and or failing ideas and any resulting working solution. And the future will be very thankful. In theory, time is moving in a way that is currently beyond our comprehension, that it is already in progress of its happening, currently unknown to itself, but eventually able to look back at its development in a simultaneous state of awareness between before the unknown, through the unknown, and after the unknown. Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. In further thinking and observational analysis, from our knowledge of nature, ants and some other species of insects and even birds feed each other in a process called trophallaxis. Ants go out, search for food, and then store that found food in their social stomachs so that when they come into contact with other ants or return to the colony, they can transfer that food into the stomach of another ant that might need nutrition to survive and thrive. We make very similar transactions as humans, just not with our stomachs or only food, material, or energy, but also with currency or information, love, fear, etc. Each of us goes out and do every day to work and discover or produce some sort of beneficial return or some form of wealth or survival that we can share or not. If we provide for each other, we become a closer, stronger, healthier, and more advanced colony. If you had $2 and your partner has none, give them $1 if needed, and you can then provide for each other selfishly and selflessly. You may believe that level of sharing could lead to personal bankruptcy or an empty stomach, but if we are each accounted for, then there can only be profitability or balance, and you, like an ant or human being, should be attempted to be provided for and over time successfully grow older so you can then care for the young and teach them to thrive until you are gone and you live on within the life and influence you provided them with. Unless if unfortunately before then you are killed and or eaten at any point in time. But as an apex predator, humans are currently more and more less likely to be eaten by things that eat humans. Selfish and selfless. We work together and build from each other and all rather than divide us by perspective beliefs or fears. Love each other. Also, if you're interested in supporting this research and documentation, please consider PayPaling or something else me $1 or more at Sean Penalber. I can definitely use any assistance as I continue to have to support existence in addition. The most positive form of love is support. June 12th, 2022, link to all my links. I want to highlight the importance of being an individual because that is what life is to each of us. The individual self needs to learn how to properly function with the outer self and every variation of. If an individual never knows its function or how to express what it is doing, then it is indeed observed to be lost until found. One of many of you or our purposes is to learn to understand what you are doing and to understand the influence you have on the universe around you and how to share that understanding with others. You must do and show and teach and share and work together for the best outcome. If you choose to not, then you are choosing to act selfishly. Thursday, December 19th, 2019. By request, now sending to Alex Ramos. Hello, Alex. Hope you and everyone reading this are well at any and every point you interact with this statement. Heart. Thursday, December 19th, 2019, continued. I am now attempting another read through and edit of this dissertation and dissection. I had only edited up to page 5 before I typed what you are now reading. Back to my work. Heart. March 20th, 2023. Now currently on the 3rd, May 27th, 2024. May the 4th be with you. August 20th, 2024, and the 5th. This is what I was listening to, Spotify link. I also applied for various positions at Spotify. Should have really invested in only one like they suggested, but I would love to do any of it. Saturday, December 20th, 2019. There's currently no exact answer to the meaning of life creation and the purposes of our being, but there are so many observable answers that already exist, are existing, have existed, will exist, etc., much like multiple choice equation with infinite choices and answers. All right, so after reading pages 221 through 230, as well as some other pages due to a small clerical error where I read some earlier parts of the book as well, really enjoyed just overall your perspective, just the things that you have talked about, the way that you've included other people's feedback in areas. But I think what sticks out most to me about these pages is in talking about just kind of like collective energy, right? Collectively working towards the greater good. That's something that I greatly believe in, given that used to always say when I worked in education that why I worked in education is because the more educated one person is, the more educated we are collectively as a society. And so some of the things that are talked about through these pages really resonate with that thought. So it warmed me up a little bit reading that. I also loved, you'll probably see in my recording, I laughed, smiled, not laughed, when it said that you love us for having read and given this peer review. And so just love you too. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for putting out into the world what you are learning. Again, the more educated that we make one person, the more educated we make everyone. So starting up on page 221, talking about what came to you in your sleep. I would love if I could actually remember anything that I think about in my sleep. But talking about your secrets and being able to share your secrets, I really liked this a lot, mainly because something I've learned through therapy, which is talked about in this section as well, is that you can't be mad at people for not being able to read your mind. And I think this section really reiterates that especially it's very easy to say with a partner, a working relationship, any type of thing like that if you have an expectation and you haven't shared that expectation, then you don't necessarily have the right to be upset that they haven't met that expectation. Of course, pending as long as it isn't harming you or things along those lines. But, if you really like pink flowers and they always bring you yellow, but you've never told them you like pink, then I don't think it's really fair to be mad that they keep bringing you yellow flowers. So talking about this and comparing it as secrets, I think was a really neat way of sharing it because as you mentioned talking about having the answer to a puzzle, it's almost shameful to have the answer in front of you. But in reality, if you had that answer, then you would be moving forward. You would be sharing knowledge. And so it really resonated a lot in that being able to share those secrets with people where you feel safe in doing so really can make a difference and in what you're able to share out. Also really enjoyed the yes and no buts. Tying in the scientific method there, taking me back to middle school is probably the last time I truly used that. But explaining it in the way of how do you, explaining it like a child, I always think that's such a good way to explain it is telling a child something's hot. They don't know what that means. They don't even know what the word hot might mean, right? Nor do they know the consequence of touching something hot. So being able to explain that is the no but where you learn to get to the yes and thinking about your secrets of life, existence in the universe and how we interact with it all and what we've learned from it. I think this was a really just powerful part of what I've read is that we have this opportunity to, again, make everyone around us better. And that is something that I very much believe in. So really, really appreciated reading this part of of these pages. Also really enjoyed the explanation of schizoanalysis. As you also commented that you thought that originally this post might have been something more similar to saying that these words and sayings are more along the lines of schizophrenia versus schizoanalysis. I think that this person did a really good job of explaining it. And I also really appreciate the way that the definition that you shared as well, where psychoanalysis is the analysis of the mind, where schizoanalysis is the study of our environments and social societies shape that mind. And I feel like that the schizoanalysis is really pertaining to what we've been talking about throughout this. Your next crazy project, proposal, running for president. What a big goal, and something that I think is one of the great things about being in our country is that anyone can have that goal and can seek out to make that happen. Personally, and this is absolutely nothing against you, but I like to think that the presidents are more of a figurehead. And so where I think people have more influence and more power is in local government, in people who are going to make decisions that affect your neighbors. And so I would encourage you to maybe consider that, just because that is something that I would encourage anybody who is wanting to make a difference, who is wanting to make the collective better, which is something that is obviously a part of your desire, but also just appreciate saying it out loud, right? That's a hard thing to do. Having such a big goal like that and putting it out there takes a lot of courage. So kudos for that as well. And then just continuing on, I really enjoyed the part of thinking of racism, sexism, hate, and identification bias as glitches. I really like that explanation, because when you think of people and what we're capable of, it's like, where did this hate come from? And describing it as a glitch just sounds right. And that it's something that has to be worked out, I think, is another great point that you articulate through this. That it's not something that is just going to grow legs and walk away. That it is something that has to be learned to overcome. And so comparing it to removing data, reprogramming it, I think that's the thing, is not only, I think that's a big part in learning, is that not only learning what is wrong, but learning what is right, so that you know that not only that what you're saying is hateful or cruel, but that here is why it's hateful and cruel, and here is how we should be treating each other. So explaining that as glitches was a different way to look at those and understand that they need to be changed, and appreciate that viewpoint. Also, appreciated the comparison of ants and how, again, they work collectively for the colony. And this comes back to what I said earlier about, I believe in the better good in the collective. I believe that helping your neighbor is never going to be the wrong answer. And making this place that we live in, this time that we live in, making it better is only going to continue to put positive energy, positive karma into the world. And that's what's going to help us make change, going to make this a better place than this kind of rough society that it feels like we live in right now. And overall, love that one of the final words that I read of yours was love each other. Obviously, my last name, that love's a word that I throw around, because I think that there's never enough of it. And so, yeah, let's love each other. Let's care for each other, and let's make the collective good as best as we can. And in sharing, you applied for some roles in Spotify. Hoping that worked out.